So it is 8:33, and I'm going to call to order the council meeting of April the 12th. Welcome, everyone. We have an agenda in front of us. Are there any additions to the agenda? Councillor McGee.
Between Wade and I, we'd like to give you a little bit of an update on the Economic Development Conference we were at.
Okay, so we put that in as 9.1 then?
That'd be great.
Economic Development Conference. Okay, any other additions? Seeing none. Councillor Penner.
I'll adopt the agenda as amended.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. We pre-circulated the minutes of the regular council meeting from March 22nd. Are there any errors or omissions? Councillor Christie.
If not, I'll move the minutes as presented.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept the minutes from the March 22nd regular council meeting minutes. So all those in favor? And that again is carried unanimously. All right. Okay, moving on in our agenda, we will move to 4.1, policy 13-4, dust suppression. Mr. Zier, welcome.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
So you see in your agenda package, agenda item 4.1 is the policy 13.4 dust suppression policy. So this is an existing policy that has been in place for a number of years with the county. This request for decision is for revisions to that current policy. So you'll see in your agenda package you have both a markup version of the existing policy as well as a black line version, an end product that kind of shows some of the changes proposed here. So just a little history on it. The 13.4 policy basically regulates the processes for dust abatement, installation, and application throughout the county. Some of the suggested revisions of this policy include removing the rebate portion of the payment. So you'll see in the markup version, we actually had a rebate portion of this policy up until, well, we were mandating it. We were going forward with it up until early last year. Basically, it had the county paying for some of the dust control, paying for a portion of the resident applied dust control. So council made a decision last year to remove that rebate portion of the application fee and basically have the landowner or the applicant pay for full price for the cost of it. So that has been updated on this policy. Since we had it open, we looked at a few other items on it and thought we'd make some suggested revisions to it just to do some things that we're looking to do in practice here. So some of the other suggested policy revisions are we're actually removing the full maximum distance of dust control. We figure since we're requiring the applicant to pay the full cost of both installation and materials, there's no real point in limiting what their extent of dust control would be. Looking at some of the past, like taking last year, for example, we had about 56 calcium dust control applications. About a quarter of those went for the full 250 meters. So we anticipate about a quarter may want more than that, but we're not expecting everyone to go 500, 800 meters kind of thing. Again, we have the manpower to do this. We've changed some of our processes for the installation of this coming forward here. We're going to regulate them into a specific time frame. So you'll see that when I bring the next RFD in front. We're actually just putting the first application within a 2-week time frame rather than a 2-month time frame, which we have in the past. So I'll explain that a little bit more in the next RFD. Some of the other revisions include just some grammar changes in here. Another big change that we're suggesting here, recommending, is that we allow not only residents to apply the dust control, but also industrial, commercial, and ag operations. Again, because we're taking away the rebate portion of this, we feel that all ratepayers, if they're residential or commercial, should have the option of applying for this dust control through the county. Like I say, it's something that some industries already do through the residents. They'll, energy companies will apply for dust control on behalf of the resident. This is just allowing them to do it fully for their own sites. So that's something that we thought might work here. I think those are the major changes. We're looking at, you'll see on item current or new item 8, old item 12, or section, that we're requiring on the outside sources to enter into an agreement with the county for applying this dust control. That's just it was labeled as a hold harmless agreement in the past. We're looking at bringing in a road use agreement type application for private industry, not just energy. So that'll also secure some of the insurance requirements and possible bonds in place at that time. So I left it kind of vague here, entering into agreement, so we have the flexibility in the future to tie it to a specific agreement. And then there's some other revisions here, such as spec crude will be assessed not just every 3 years or after 3 years, but anytime we feel that it's maybe deteriorating past the point of usability. Some of these high traffic roads can fail after a couple of years, not just 3 and more years. So just freeing it up a little bit more in our policies here to allow us to make some decisions that not being tied to the specific timeframes on these. So those are the suggested changes here. You'll see that the black line version, like I say in your package there, just kind of shows what the final policy would look like. And yeah, the recommendation is that the policy 13.4 is accepted as presented. So.
Reeve Whitstock, go ahead.
Just have one question, Mr. Zier. So when, okay, for instance, we're tearing up some spec crude, can the landowner be notified in advance of, so he has time to redeploy some spec crude if he so chooses for the year? You know where I'm going with. You're going to give some heads up.
For sure, yes. Through the chair. Actually, there is a condition on both number 11, new number 11 and new number 12 sections of the policy, which are actually an existing policy right now, that the CAO will notify the landowner if we're going to tear up any calcium or dust control. Sorry, spec crude. I believe it's 2 weeks prior. Let me see if I can find that exact.
Well, no, what I'm getting at is, it's fine to be notified that it's going to be tore up, but can we notify in such a way that new spec crude could be put down rather than having a season that's kind of dusty?
So through the chairs, just so I'm clear, so you're asking that we give them enough notice that they can apply for new dust control and have it down at the time that we're going to be tearing it up, is that correct?
Absolutely. Well, you know, because we do have a timeline for when we have to pay and apply for dust control. So if there could be some notice given to the landowner that their dust control is going to be removed, just so the new stuff we can still put the new stuff down in front for the season.
Right. Through the chair, I think that might be a little bit difficult to achieve, just because we can't predict when these dust controls are going to fail. And if they are coming to a point where it's a hindrance or it's a safety concern for the traveling public, I think we need to act and tear up the dust control regardless. If there's we only put spec crude down at certain times a year, mainly in the hot summer months, July, August. If we have a dust control that fails in January and it is a hindrance to the travel, like it really is going to cause a safety concern, I'm not sure if we can wait until the August timelines for that. We can definitely extend it. We can try and do patching as much as we can, but in the end, I think if we need to tear it up, we need to tear it up just to make sure that the road is safe and travelable.
No, I totally agree with you. When it needs to be tore up, it needs to be tore up. But I was just hoping that if there was, like most of these guys know that it's coming to the end of its life and that it'll be tore up here whenever. So if we could, okay, I get where you're going. Never mind. I call back the question.
Are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Cunningham.
I'm just curious, I might have missed it in here, but is the cost for residential user the same as non-residential?
Through the chair, it is, yes.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Penner.
Just for clarification on, I think it's new number 7, we do not guarantee the dust suppression. What happens if it rains 2 days later?
So through the chair, yeah, we definitely like to avoid that. We look at the weather forecast and we want to not apply it when there's inclement weather coming in. I think because this policy is written in this way, there's always the option for the landowner to make a request to council if they feel that they've been, if they're not getting the product that they paid for, that sort of thing. With everything, I mean, if we have calcium on site, if it's something that we can quickly look at and say, yes, that was a mistake, or there was a incorrect product put down or an incorrect level, we'll rectify that. But I think for this part, we want to make sure it's in here so that a lot of these, the main purpose of this is that a lot of folks think that oil lasts 15 years or dust control should last 5 years, and we just want to show that that there is a lifespan with all these products. So we're definitely open to understanding that if it was our mistake putting it in and we had a rainstorm that occurred right after, I think we.
Well, freak storms happen.
Exactly,
They-
correct,
They were
yeah.
supposed to go south or north and they ended up coming through, you know. So
Yeah.
it's-
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Penner.
Sorry, just another one, just so that our ratepayers hear today. The process, because a lot of them, when it comes silage season and stuff like that, they do apply water. Could you explain the process for them to how to contact you and whatnot, other departments? Or what, is there a form on the new website they could fill out, stuff like that, when they're going to, because they don't necessarily know when silage season's going to be, it'll just depend on the heat, you know?
Right, so through the chair, with any kind of activity taking place on our roads from private contractor, that sort of thing, we do have hold harmless agreements that we have folks enter into, just kind of protect the county and our interests. We are looking at revising that right now. I think there's some places we can enhance it a little bit just to make sure that the county is protected both with insurance ways and just understanding the actual activities that are occurring on some of these roads. So currently, like I say, there's a hold harmless agreement that we do have them enter into, but we're going to be enhancing that in the next few months. So, and that agreement will be in front of you as well, just to take a look at.
Okay. Anybody else want to have a question or a comment? Councillor McGee.
If not, I'd like to move that council approve the dust suppression policy 13-4 as presented.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any further discussion? I guess I would just have one comment, and my assumption would be is that our roads and transportation department will work as much as possible with ratepayers on their dust control management, correct? I know my own experience has been, they've said, you know, it's getting kind of old, looking kind of poor. We're going to tear it up. Do you want to re-spec crude? And so we did, right? And actually they tore it up and told me then after they had tore it up that I didn't have to put spec crude on again because it was, once they tore it up and repacked it, it was good again. So my assumption is we work with people. And so I guess if we are going to go forward in good faith, that's the direction that we want to go. So,
Yeah, and through the chair, that's definitely a concern for the transportation department. We understand that this dust control, the folks pay for it. Yes, it's on public land, but it's a very personal thing for each one of these folks. So we want to make sure that they're at least communicated to properly when we are looking at the end of life of some of the dust controls, so.
right, any other comments? If not, we have a motion to approve the policy 13-4, dust suppression, so. Okay, I'm going to ask the question. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to dust suppression rates, which is 4.2. And Mr. Zier, when you're ready.
Thank you. So in your agenda item 4.2 is the dust suppression rates, request for decision. So this is, if you look at our policy that we just approved here, 13.4, it dictates that council will set the rates for dust control both for calcium and spec crude based on the March, the rates, the product costs of the March of the current year. So we did receive back some costs for calcium in this. You'll note that the spec crude actually isn't shown in the rates here. It's because we actually haven't received that. Our suppliers are with the volatility in the markets now, they haven't been able to get a firm price on us. We're meeting with them later this week, and we hope to get a price on that. It looks like it's quite significantly higher than it was last year. So we'll put that forward to council and decide if there's, I guess, user pay kind of thing is what we've gone in the past. So it'll be significantly higher than it is right now. But this RFD is for the calcium costs. You'll see that there's actually a new rate shown here. So typical, just a little history, typical calcium applications are 2 times a year. We apply them in early spring and then late summer. You usually need 2 applications just to kind of fully fulfill a year of dust control. With traffic, depending on the densities, 2 applications seem to work quite well across the board. What we've done here, because we want to get the early dust control applicants in and sprayed, that sometimes loses the late appliers from missing their deadline, and they've got to wait another year. So we've added an option here for people to apply up until, I believe that we're going to be looking in June for the second application, late June, early July. And that's just to allow somebody that wants a second application, a top spray, to be done. It's half the price of the existing calcium, but at least give somebody an option that they can have some form of dust control for the remainder of the year. And still let the folks that wanted a little bit early to go forward and have it applied. We're not waiting until June to have them all done at the same time. As I mentioned, we're changing a bit of the processes here, so we're going to try and get all the applications in the first part of May for this. So we're going to have a deadline of mid-May and then have all the applications start soon after that, so we can have some earlier dust control here than early and segmented dust control rather than go out as we receive them, which has been some of the practice in the past. So the recommendation motion is for the dust control rates as shown, and as well to update the master rates bylaw with those new rates.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, any discussion? So we need 2 motions here, one to approve the rates and then one to amend the master rates bylaw. Councillor Christie.
I'll make the motion to approve the dust suppression rates as presented.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the dust suppression rates as presented, and these relate to calcium. Any comment, discussion? Okay.
Just one
Oh,
more.
Councillor
Sorry
Penner.
for that. I'm sure we'll work with our ratepayers again. Say in the fall harvest comes early like did last year, we put it on earlier. Just, we're prepared to do that, being we own the equipment, right? We're not having this contracted out, so that still could happen in the fall if harvest happens to be early.
That's correct. Yeah, so we do have both the storage and the applicators on site here, so we are able to to move our dates around. That's a good thing about having our own equipment. We're not reliant on a contractor and supply issues with that sort of thing, so.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, if not, I'm going to ask the question. We have the motion to approve the dust suppression rates. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. We need a second motion. Reeve Whitstock.
I'd move the council direct staff to amend the master rates bylaw to include these rates.
Okay, thank you. So we have the motion to direct staff to amend the master rates bylaw. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously as well. Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Zier. Moving on, we have 5.1.1, Bylaw 1853, request to amend Bylaw 1808. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, Ms. Hazelton.
Yes. So we received a request from an applicant to amend Land Use Bylaw 1808, and so you will see the attached proposed bylaw attached. So this is GVF Contracting, is the current landowner of the southeast of 283226, and he is granted Fire Technology Corp. As an agent to apply for a micropower generation and cryptocurrency mining facility on the above noted lands. The proposed site is located approximately 2 kilometers southwest of Torrington as the crow flies. The site is accessed via Range Road 26-3 and is just over 1.5 miles south of Highway 27. The applicants are looking to lease a portion of the existing Ember lease site located on the property. Ember has entered into a surface sharing lease with Fire Technology Corporation. Below are the uses that can potentially be introduced on the lands that have been redesignated to the light industrial district. A data center is a discretionary use in this district. And we're looking today, just to get this in the queue, is to council to move first reading of the proposed bylaw 1853, and then also to schedule the public hearing for May 10th at 10 a.m. Your options are to provide a different date and time if you prefer for the public hearing, and go from there.
Okay, so are there any questions? Okay, Councillor Forbes.
Good morning. I'm not against this, but I just have a couple of questions. One being, has this always been an agricultural, has it been deemed that even though Embers had it?
So yes, typically in Kneehill County, everything was under the ag district, whether it was an ag use or not. And so Embers leases ag. Most of the gas plants are that way as well. And that's just historically the way it's been done. So we're trying to work with that in the current one, but they would have to rezone a portion to light industrial to accommodate the data center, because that's now falls under the light industrial use.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
So I guess my question is if they're going to put this in, does it affect are they running on electricity to run all of the computers that are in there?
I'm going to defer, some of this needs to
Okay.
go to the public hearing.
Okay.
But they are looking at putting in gas generators. There is a letter behind here,
Okay.
which does explain some of that. So they are going to run off that
Okay.
natural gas, but a lot of that detail needs to come to the public hearing.
Fair
So,
enough. Thank you.
So any other questions? All right, I don't see any. So what is council's wish? Reeve Whitstock.
I would move first reading proposed bylaw 1853 for the purpose of amending land use bylaw 1808 by redesignating a portion of southeast of 283226 west of 4 from ag district to light industrial district.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, Councillor Cunningham, sorry.
Just so it's clear for me, so after even we do the first reading, that means that we will go and for sure do the public hearing, right?
We do have to
We do
hold a
for the
public hearing
MGA,
when
right.
somebody requests an amendment. This is what puts it into the queue.
Right.
So we give first reading to that bylaw. It does have to have 3 readings to be approved. And so, and we have to hold a public hearing prior to second reading.
For second, okay, thank you.
Reeve Whitstock.
Yeah, we have to actually start the process with having first reading. Without first reading, the process can't go ahead.
Any further questions? Okay, I don't see any, so I'm going to ask the question. All those in favor of first reading of bylaw 1853 for the purpose of amending land use bylaw 1808 by redesignating a portion of southeast 2832-26 west of 4 from agriculture district to light industrial. That was the motion. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, we would require a public hearing. Councillor McGee.
I'd like to move that council schedule the public hearing as per sections 230 and 692 of the Municipal Government Act to be held on May 10th, 2022 at 10 a.m.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comment? Okay, so we have a motion to schedule the public hearing on May 10th, 2022 at 10 a.m. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hazelton. All right, moving on to 5.2.1, Municipal Weed and Pest Agreements. Welcome, Ms. Sherwick.
Good morning, Council. Okay, so the item I have for you this morning is municipal weed and pest agreements. So relevant legislation around this one provincially, the Weed Control Act, Part 2, Section 9, an inspector appointed by a municipality may, with the consent of the local authority of another municipality, enforce and monitor compliance with this act within the other municipality. And then also the Agricultural Pest Act at the provincial level, appointment of inspectors by local authority. 2 or more local authorities may A, jointly appoint inspectors to act within the municipalities represented by the local authorities, and B, enter into an agreement for the sharing of the cost of the inspectors appointed jointly. And then council bylaws or policies included that are relevant here. Policy 11-19, signing of agreements, and then policy 1-28, weed control. So background on this item is that all local authorities in Alberta are delegated responsibility for controlling regulated weeds and pests within their boundaries by the province of Alberta through the Weed Control Act and the Agricultural Pest Act. Kneehill County currently enters into weed and pest agreements with neighboring municipalities for the purpose of providing weed and pest inspection services by Kneehill County appointed inspectors to these municipalities through the approach of public awareness, education, integrated pest management, and leadership as stated in the agreements. So the current practice has been that these agreements are renewed as required, and under policy 11-19, signing of agreements, joint agreements with municipalities require council approval. Due to the operational nature of the weed and pest agreements, it is administration's recommendation that council approve administration to renew these agreements beginning in May 2022. Discussion around this, the benefit of council accepting the recommended motion is a more streamlined and efficient process of renewing these agreements, as they will not then require council's approval each time an agreement is to be renewed. An alternative to this motion would be to bring each agreement forward to council as renewal is required. However, due to the operational nature of these agreements and their generally identical nature, to continue increasing operational efficiency, this is not the recommendation of administration. There are no perceived disadvantages to the recommended motion, and the manager of Parks and Agricultural Services has consulted with the CAO on this recommendation. Regarding financial and staffing implications with the recommended motion, financial implications, funds are currently allocated in the ASB budget, so no amendments required. Actual inspection expenditures are invoiced to neighboring municipalities as outlined in each weed and pest agreement. And staffing implications, no additional staffing implications with this, as operations will remain the same, and our seasonally appointed weed and pest inspectors will continue to complete inspections as outlined in the agreements. Council options, one, that council authorizes administration to renew weed and pest agreements with neighboring municipalities. Two, council moves that administration continue with the current process of council approval on renewing weed and pest agreements with neighboring municipalities, or three, that council receives this information. And the recommended motion with this one is that council authorize administration to renew weed and pest agreements with neighboring municipalities.
So just to clarify, we have these agreements existing.
Yes.
They don't all renew at the same time. And
Correct.
we have one that's renewing.
Yes, we actually,
Currently.
to your question, we do have multiple agreements that will be coming up for renewal. So this is just in advance of that process.
Okay, so it just saves us from having to approve each one as they come.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Boy, pretty quiet group. All right, what's council's wish? Councilor Christie.
If there's no questions, I'll make the motion to authorize administration to renew the weed and pest agreements with neighboring municipalities.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, we have a motion on the floor that council would authorize administration to renew the weed and pest agreements with our neighboring municipalities. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Sherwick.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on in our agenda to 7.1, Trochu Ag Society sponsorship request. Carolyn or Mike, who's taking this one? Carolyn? Okay.
Good morning, Council and Chairman. Today I bring you the Trochu Ag Society sponsorship request, agenda item 7.1. Administration received a request from the Trochu and District Ag Society to sponsor their rodeo weekend event. This is the group's 5th year having this event. Kneehill County has never sponsored this event in the past. This year, the Trochu and District Ag Society will be expanding the event by having a professional bull riding event followed by a live band on the evening of June 25th. They provided us with a sponsorship package, and because we've never sponsored this before, I provided some examples of some of the other things we have sponsored in the past. The 4-H show day, we sponsor $800. The Thrashers hockey, we usually sponsor $500 to that every year. Kneehill Pond hockey, they held an event in Torrington and we provided them $240. And kids sport, we usually provide $250 a year to that event. So the financial and staffing implications, the sponsorship opportunities range from $150 to $2,500. $10,000 gets budgeted annually to the Recreation, Community Arts and Cultural Events Grant Program, and to date there's $8,885 in this fund.
Okay, thank you. So, any questions, any discussion, comment? Reeve Whitstock.
Question for you, Carolyn. I take it Kneehill County does have a banner that we could provide the Ag Society if this motion passes?
Yeah, I believe we do have a banner. Yeah, we could provide that if we did provide funding.
Well, I think it's, if we provide the funding, they ask us to provide a banner, correct? Or am I reading this wrong?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, just making sure. Thanks.
Councilor Penner.
Just making sure here that I understand this correctly. This is a junior rodeo other than the bull riding, correct? So this is supporting the youth of the county?
That is correct. It's also got barrel racing and junior rodeo and bull riding. And the dance at the end.
Any other questions? If not, what's the wish of council? Councillor Penner.
I'd actually make the motion. I'd like to see, this is a sport, so I'd like to support the youth. So I'd make the motion that council provide sponsorship to the Trochu and District Ag Society in the amount of $250, which is a panel advertisement at the Trochu and District Ag Society 2022 Junior Rodeo.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to provide sponsorship. Any further comment or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask the question. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to 7.2, 2022 parade season. Ms. Vanderquill, are you taking this one as well?
I guess I can. It is coming up, the parade season. Before COVID-19, council would participate in all the local parades within our area. Now that COVID restrictions have been dropped, towns and villages will be hosting these events again. So the parade dates include, Linden was June 4th, and to note there that this is when council's usually away at FCM, but I do realize that there are some councilors still available in the area, because not all council are going to FCM. Carbon is June 11th, Acme is June 18th, Trochu is July 1st, and Three Hills is July 16th. Administration will ensure a vehicle is readily available and clean, and candy will be available. And new to this year, they have Christine from Communications has made magnetic names that go on the side of the car. So everyone will know who is sitting in the car when they're throwing out candy.
So can we request a specific councillor's name?
Yeah. Sure.
And a mustache so I can be Reeve Whitstock or something, right? Okay. So this is basically for our information. Our past history for the new councillors has been we take advantage and participate in the parades where we are available and try to represent council for all of these. So if there's one that you're just dying to be involved in and want to be first in line, you let Carolyn know, and away it goes. So, Councillor McGee.
I just wanted to ask Carolyn that we include the Drumheller Parade in future dates about that as well.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you.
And that's usually July 1st, correct? Yeah. Yeah, we have 2 vehicles, so we can make sure we have 2 readily available.
All right, so I guess we're just looking for a motion to receive for information. Councillor Cunningham.
I'll make the motion that council receive for information the 2022 parade season report.
Okay, thank you. We have the motion to accept for information. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously as well. Thank you. And then we have 7.3, cancellation of the April 19th Committee of the Whole meeting. Mr. Hogan?
Through Mr. Chair to Council, this item is just again looking at upcoming agendas and meetings of Council. As of this time, there is no business slated for the upcoming Committee of the Whole meeting. So Council has the option, we could attend that meeting and or you could cancel that meeting. The implications to this, of course, if you cancel the meeting, then there wouldn't be any per diems to pay or anything like that.
Okay. Well, we're all in favor of not meeting if there's nothing to meet about. So, and I assume that this will get published in our Facebook and all the appropriate places so people know?
Yes, so we do have some processes that we need to follow when we cancel meetings of this sort. Council sets these at your annual organizational meetings. When we deviate from that, then we do have an onus and a responsibility under the Act to make sure the public is aware of such.
Okay. Any questions, comment? What's the wish of council? Councillor Christie.
I'll make the motion to move council, I'll start over. I'll move council cancel the committee of the whole meeting scheduled for April 19th, 2022.
Okay, so we have a motion to cancel the committee of the whole meeting for April 19th. Any other discussion or comment? Okay, if none, I'll ask the question. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously as well. Okay, I think I'm going to suggest we take a 10-minute break here before we get into the community grants. And so let's take a quick break and we'll come back. So we'll be in recess. Okay, it's 9:27, and I'm going to call the meeting back to order. And we're going to continue in our agenda. And we are at 7.4, Community Grants, Round 1 for 2022. And Ms. Vanderquill, you're taking this one. Thank you.
I am, thank you. Good morning, Council and Chairman. Today I bring you agenda number 7.4, Round 1 Community Grants. The Round 1 Community Grant application deadline was on March 2nd, 2022. There are a total of 5 eligible applications received, and the total amount requested for Round 1 is $15,450. And each year we budget $50,000 for this grant program, which has 2 rounds of applications annually. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read through all the applications? And as I review them, Council would have a chance to ask questions.
Yeah, I think that would be an appropriate method of dealing with them.
Perfect. So the first application we have is the Silver Willow Senior Citizen Society. The total project amount is $600, and the amount they are requesting is $300. If approved, the society would use their application money to purchase a Bun coffee maker for the center. Kneehill County has not provided any funding to this organization in the past. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? Okay, no, can you go on to the next one then?
All
please?
right, the next one is the Trochu Valley Historical Society. The total project amount is $7,300, and the amount they are requesting is $3,650. If their application is approved, they would use their money to remove 9 windows in the building. Kneehill County has provided this organization with a $1,000 grant back in 2019 for them to purchase a laptop and a printer. The organization provided us with a copy of the land title, and the Trochu Museum Society is the current title holder of this property.
Okay, so are there any questions regarding this application?
All right, the next application.
Seeing none,
oh,
go ahead. Yep.
is the Wimborne Community Center. The total project amount for is $5,000, and the amount they are requesting is $2,500. If their application is approved, they would use their funding to purchase new countertops for their kitchen. Kneehill County provided this organization recently with a one-time COVID relief grant to assist rural halls during COVID. Wimborne used their allocation to assist with their insurance and utilities. For that grant, Kneehill County has also provided them with the following funding from the community grant program. In 2019, we provided them $5,000 for a furnace. In 2017, we provided them $3,000 to replace, $5,000 for their floors. In 2017 was $3,000 to replace their furnace. And in 2015, we provided them with about $4,000 for interior painting.
Any questions, comments? Okay, I see none, so can we go on to the next one?
The next project is the Three Hills Beautification, formerly known as the Three Hills Communities in Bloom. The total project amount is $9,000, and the amount they are requesting is $4,500. Their eligibility is dependent on if their grant is approved by the town of Three Hills to provide them with the 50% matching funds. If their application is approved, they would use their funding to purchase large planters to be placed along Highway 583 and 2nd Street North. Kneehill County, back in 2015, provided the Three Hills Communities in Bloom $4,000 to assist in purchasing the mounting brackets and hanging baskets for Main Street. I called the applicant yesterday to get an update on their application to the town of Three Hills, and they said that the town had provided them with $2,500. However, only $2,500, not the $4,500 that they requested. However, the organization did not include any volunteer labor time on our application. And last year, they had noted that they had over 75 volunteer hours back on, you'll see that on page 65. And that amount could cover the amount lost by the town of Three Hills if council so chooses. Or council could say that they'll only match the funds of the town of Three Hills, or council could just deny this application.
Okay, any questions regarding this application? So technically, from what you're saying is if they don't have the matching funds, they are ineligible.
Correct.
So they were dependent on Three Hills to get those matching funds?
That is correct.
Okay.
But they also didn't put any volunteer hours onto their application, which could have given them a few more matchable funds.
Okay,
What was the rate we put per hour?
use your mic, please.
It's,
What was the rate we used per hour for
it's
volunteer?
$10 per hour for volunteer hour.
So like $7,500 from there.
Yeah.
Does it, no, that's not
No,
right.
$750.
$750.
But they said 75 volunteers, but that doesn't show how many hours they did.
Counselor Phillips?
So just so that organizations understand this moving forward, it's super important that they put in their volunteer hours because it allows us as a council to be able to see that they have some skin in the game. And I know that they put it in their overview, but it's not on our application, which is a tough one for where we sit.
Exactly, especially if you're waiting for funds from another organization.
Any other comments? Counselor Penner?
So on their application, they said, if you do not receive this grant, will a project take place? They said no. So they didn't get, just want some clarification here. They didn't get the full 4,500 because it's going to cost them 9,000, correct? So doesn't matter what we do here, it's not going to go ahead because they need the 9,000 financially to purchase these. So they're asking us to prop up the town of Three Hills, is what you're saying?
Right, yeah, that is correct, Counselor Penner. So if we gave them the $4,500, they'd still be short, yeah.
Yeah. They do say if they don't get their full funding, they're not going ahead, so. Okay, any other questions regarding the Three Hills beautification application? Seeing none, do you want to go on to the last one, please,
The
Carol?
last one is the Carbon Legion 161. The total project amount is $12,700, and the amount they are requesting is $4,500. If their application is approved, they would use their funding to build a soapbox derby starting gate. The county has not provided community grant funding to this organization in the past.
Okay, any questions related to this one? You can see that they've included their volunteer labor, their in-kind donations, and their own contribution of cash to the project, so. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. My assumption is then we're at a point where we're prepared to make a decision on each of the applications. So the process that we're going to engage in, I guess, is I'm going to poll you individually as counselors related to each project, and then we'll make a decision on them as we go forward. And of course, our able assistant is going to keep track of what votes are where. So I'm going to start with the first application, the Silver Willow Senior Citizen Society. And I'm going to give Councillor McGee the honor of going first. Councillor McGee.
Well, thank you. Yes, I agree.
Yes. Councillor Christie.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Councillor Penner.
Yes.
Councillor Cunningham.
I'm a yes.
Councillor Phobes.
Yes.
And Reeve Whitstock.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next one is the Trochu Valley Historical Society. And I'm going to give Reeve Whitstock the opportunity to go first. Reeve Whitstock.
Yes.
Councillor Phobes.
Yes.
Councillor Cunningham.
Yes.
Councillor Penner.
Yes.
I am a yes. Councillor Christie.
Yes.
And Councillor McGee.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the Wimborne Community Center. And Counselor Christie, I'll give you the opportunity to go.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a yes. Counselor Penner,
Yes?
Counselor Cunningham,
Yes.
Counselor Forbes,
Yes.
and Reeve Whitstock,
Yes.
and Counselor McGee.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next one is the Three Hills Beautification Project. And Counselor Penner, I'm going to give you opportunity to go first.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, Counselor Cunningham,
I'm going to abstain from voting on this due to a conflict of interest.
okay, that's perfectly acceptable. Counselor Forbes,
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say no.
okay, Reeve Whitstock,
Well, it's a tough one, but if it was dependent on the other 4,500, I'm gonna have to go with a no.
okay. Counselor McGee,
I agree with everybody. It's no because of the 4,500.
and Counselor Christie,
I would say no. I wish their application would have been more complete.
and I'm also a no. And the last one is the Carbon Legion request. And Counselor Cunningham, I'll give you the privilege of being first.
I'm a yes.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Forbes,
I'm a yes.
Reeve Whitstock,
Yes.
Counselor McGee,
Yes.
Counselor Christie.
Yes. I got to go see the races.
And I'm a yes, and Counselor Penner.
I'm a yes, and if you get the opportunity, go. It's pretty cool what they do, so.
All right, thank you. And so, Ms. Vanderquill, you now have a summary for us. Okay, thank you very much for that summary. So would someone care to make the motion? Counselor McGee.
I move that we approve round one community grants to nonprofit organizations as listed by our wonderful Carolyn.
So we are approving Silver Willows, Trochu Valley Historical Society, Wimborne Community Center, and the Carbon Legion requests. That's the motion. Any further comment or discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
For
Okay.
some reason, the county's camera is offline.
We'll just call
Okay,
in Will Nyman to come in.
Maybe we'll take a brief recess to get that back up and running. So let's take a recess for 5 minutes to get our technical difficulties dealt with. difficulties resolved, and so we'll call the meeting back to order at 9:43. And we'll move on in our agenda to 7.5, BCOMM update. Come back after technical difficulties to talk about technical things. So, Mr. Hogan?
Through Mr. Chair to Council, on the follow-up action item list, there is an item that we returned to Council with more information or follow-up information to the presentation made by BCOMM regarding internet services within the county. So we wanted to bring this item forward because in further discussions with BCOMM is there's been some changes on their end. And what they were looking at before when they first presented to you is not what they're looking at now. And as such, they're not looking at coming back to the county at this present time. Possibly in the future they might, but for now they're not. So with that new intel and with the other initiatives that the county's looking at, is what we're bringing this item forward to you is just an update on that report. And if council accepts this for information, we'd remove that particular item from the follow-up action item list. We just didn't want to administratively to remove that from the action item list without some sort of council understanding or approval to do so.
Okay, so this is just an acknowledgement that BCOMM is no longer making the request of Kneehill County, and an update that we had requested earlier. So, any comment or questions? Seeing none, what's the wish of council? Councillor Cunningham.
I'll move that council receive for information the update regarding BCOMM as presented.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion that we receive for information. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, continuing to move on. We are going to go to council and committee reports. And in 9.1, Economic Development Conference report. Councillor McGee, Councillor Christie.
Well, I'll get started and we'll have Councillor Christie add what he'd like to add. The first most exciting part is our wonderful staff person, Jacqueline, received an award for Mentor of the Year. And it was extremely exciting and proud moment for us to be part of such a recognizable time. So Kneehill County was extremely recognized quite a bit throughout the conference. Okay. And so we need to really celebrate that, in my opinion, that we have made an impact here, but also a noticeable impact beyond our boundaries. So I'm excited at how far this young program has gotten already. We had, I would say, of all the conferences that I've been able to attend over the last 5 years, this one jam-packed me with the most information for sure. Very practical, a lot of discussion as well, but extremely, extremely worthwhile. Just simply, they had panels on various aspects of the economy. So we had a panel on agriculture, we had a panel on aviation, another panel on technology, and then another one on ag foods, another one on energy. I said that already, sorry. And life sciences. And visitor economy. So that's several different panels that really gave us a broad spectrum of what's happening in our province with each of those things. So again, it was also very thorough information because they covered all the areas. Top-notch speakers exposed me to some things that are way above me as well, like the metaverse and all the wonderful stuff that's happening out there that I will never probably understand. I really like to quote that the one speaker, Todd Hirsch from ATB, said, and he took it from a book from Jason Gibble called the book Challenging Book. He said, economy is our relationship with each other and the rest of the living world. So do we want to be about reciprocity and care? So I think that's exactly what I think we manifest and have shown, that we are about reciprocity. Who would like to help me speak? And so again, I just want to say thanks to the administration for being exactly what, to me, was the epiphany of that whole conference with that particular vote. Other than that, we have another great award that Councillor Christie will share.
So Community Futures Wild Rose got the agritourism award, or the mid-sized municipality tourism initiative. So our agritourism that they've been working on for 2.5 years or so got awarded, and we were in the smallest community, but we had the best award. Extremely high-end speakers. Jean Oluwang, I think is how you pronounce it, I don't know. But basically, she had connections all over the world, like Nelson Mandela, Jimmy Carter's. Her whole presentation was on collaboration and what two people can do differently or together. And there are like 60 different pairs that went through the world history for 20 years. So that's the kind of connections it made. The other one was Angela Marshall was a congressional executive consultant for the U.S. government, was talking about geopolitical impacts of today, where her indication was the U.S. is looking to Canada to make long-term agreements that's more stable than what they have overseas. So, I mean, that's the kind of speakers we were listening to. So it was extremely high-end. And of all the conferences I've been to, it's the best resource that I've seen. So it was very, very good.
Well, thank you for that report. Glad to see that our quality staff is being recognized elsewhere, and certainly as a council, we would congratulate Ms. Buchanan on her award, and we are very grateful for the work that she does and you do for us, and so as council, we acknowledge that, and congratulations on your award. Yeah, great. And then Community Futures and Wild Rose, eh? So that, it's the tourism initiative, right?
Yes, and we had our strat planning over the weekend, and I said, when we have the best staff in the province, we need to do some training in our office to get more staff. We have $4.5 million that's not lent out, and part of that's the RRF funding that kind of overrode it the last 2 years. I said, it's like a farmer having bins full of grain, not working. I said, it's inventory, and any business with inventory sitting stagnant isn't good.
Yeah, yeah, good. Right, very good. Glad the conference went well and that you both felt it was very worthwhile, so good. All right. So I guess we would need a motion to receive for information the council and committee reports as presented. Councillor McGee.
I wanted to add before I make the motion that we even had our speakers through our meals. So this was a non-stop 12-hour day. Not even meals were a break. And so it was jam-packed, and I think that's an important thing to note as well. There's not rec time when you go to these things, and I'd like to just have this opportunity to dispel that myth. And having said that, I'd like to move that our that our council and committee reports are received as information.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion that we accept for information the council and committee reports as presented. The verbal report by Councillor Christie and McGee, Councillor McGee. So all those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Our next item of business would be the council follow-up action list, 10.0. Any questions, comment? All looks good. Okay, Councillor Penner.
If nobody has any questions, I'd make the motion that council receive for information the council follow-up action list as presented.
Okay, so we have the motion to receive the council follow-up action list as presented. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. And then our next item of business would be 11.0, closed session, section 16 and 25 under FOIP. I'm having trouble now myself. Third-party business interests. Would someone care to make a motion to move us into closed session? Councillor Forbes?
I'll make the motion to move us into closed session.
All those in favor? That's carried unanimously.